Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Montgomery Industrial Development Agency meeting for November 8th, 2021. I'd like to call the meeting to order and introduce members and associated staff present, starting with John Dixon on my right, Matt Stoddard next to him, both board members, Connor Eckert, my immediate right, Executive Director, Megan Herbert, Secretary, welcome. I'm Jeff Christ, Chairman of the Board, Bob Santo to my left, and Tom Jones on my far left, and Ed Williams we have on the phone. Good afternoon, Ed. And Council, Ashley Torrey, welcome. Billy Iverson on the live stream, and Laura Evans on the meeting recording. We do have a quorum. Actually, we have all members present, which is good to see. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to start with the approval of the October 12th, 2021 meeting minutes. Board members have a copy of those. Any additions, corrections, or a motion to accept?
I'll make that motion.
Motion to accept by John Dixon. Second to that motion, Bob Santo. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried. And we had one loose end from September. We need to approve or consider for approval the minutes of September 14th, 2021 meeting, which included a public hearing transcript on Cardinal Health, and board members have those meeting minutes as well as transcript in their possession. Any additions, corrections, or a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by John Dixon, thank you. Second to that motion. You good, Tom Jones? Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried. As is customary, we have a public comment session for items on the agenda today, and I would ask if anyone in the audience would like to make a public comment today. Not seeing anybody here for those comments, we'll move right into our next. Okay, good. Hi, Ed, we got you on board?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we do have Ed Williams present, board member. We're just moving Ed into the commercial findings resolution for Walden Construction Enterprise. I'm going to ask Connor Eckert to go over those before we consider a vote. Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Broadly, this resolution essentially says this board deems the Walden Construction Enterprise project to be commercial in nature, and also breaks down the process and some of the facts and findings we've uncovered throughout this project. Broadly, we started off by asking the Office of State Comptroller, the Attorney General, the Authority Budgets Office for guidance on this project, and ultimately we were pointed toward the Comptroller's existing opinion 85-51, which essentially states that when determining whether a project that consists of the construction of an apartment complex is a commercial activity within the meaning of the Act, it is to be made by local officials based on all of the relevant facts of the proposed project. And some of these facts are, we've reviewed documents over the last few months, such as, of course, the application, the memos that were sent to the agency, the economic impact of home building report done by the National Association of Home Builders, the independent cost-benefit analysis report from Camoin Associates, and census data that was forwarded to the agency from the applicant and posted on the website. And some of the other findings that the board has determined are the municipality of Walden needs senior housing to retain the population. It's an important need to support the economic growth of the community, and it would provide a nucleus of a healthy residential environment for seniors that would be instrumental in the further growth of the municipality. and would support the health, general prosperity, and economic welfare of the citizens of the municipality. So broadly, this resolution just goes through the process and says the board deems this project to be commercial, and it's really part one of the second and this part two is the approving resolution for this project.
Any questions, comments for Connor? Or issues with the first resolution?
Yeah, just,
Tom?
if I may, just two quick questions, I think. Connor, can you just define what a commercial project is as it relates to the Act, or how the Act defines a commercial project?
Sure. So as we put it so the resolution is within the Act, it's a project to promote, develop, encourage, and assist in the acquiring, constructing, reconstructing, improving, maintaining, and equipping of facilities, among others, for the purpose of attracting and developing economically sound commerce, industry, advanced job opportunities, health, general prosperity, and economic welfare for the people of New York State, and to improve their prosperity and standard of living, and to prevent unemployment and economic deterioration.
Thanks, Connor. And the second question I have is, my understanding of, I believe the zoning for the project is an R3 zone.
That's right. Yep.
And under the R3 zone, does it allow for commercial activity to take place?
To my knowledge, no. Michelle, were you land use attorney as well on that? No? Okay. I know they received also variances for certain densities as well, right? But the zoning R3, I can't speak to the code off the top of my head in the village.
Is there any risk of, if the IDA approves this as a commercial project, it ultimately threatens the project having that designation?
So if I could
Ashley?
just comment on that, the zoning and how the zoning defines certain types of uses is different from what the Act says and what type of activities this board's able to approve, going with that with the comptroller's opinion and what specific factors make something commercial for purposes of the Act versus commercial for zoning purposes. So they're two different things, but that was a great question.
Other questions, board members? I would just say we've had a lot of discussion on this project. We've had a public hearing. We've received a number of comments, particularly related to the requested pilot. And subsequent to that public hearing, the applicant removed the request for the pilot, and now the request only includes sales tax exemption and mortgage tax exemption. So I feel the board did respond in feedback to the applicant. We now have the process to this point that does not include a pilot request. I would ask if anyone would care to make a motion on this resolution, which is the commercial findings resolution.
I'll make that motion.
And I have some wording for that, John. Motion to adopt the commercial findings resolution for the Walden Construction Enterprise LLC project on file and on the agency's website, determining that the project is a commercial project eligible for financial assistance in the form of exemption from sales and use tax and mortgage recording tax. Is that agreeable to you for the motion, John?
Yes, it is.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Ed Williams seconds the motion. Thank you, Ed. And I'm going to do a roll call vote, I would think is appropriate, Ashley, starting with John Dixon.
Aye.
Right? John is in favor. Matt? Aye. Matt Stoddard is in favor. Ed Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ed is in favor of the motion.
Yes.
Bob Santo is in favor of the motion. Tom Jones?
Nay.
Tom Jones is not in favor, he's a nay. And my vote, Jeff Christ, I'm in favor of the motion. So the motion is passed, which is the commercial findings resolution for Walden Construction Enterprise. Moving on to the approving resolution for Walden Construction Enterprise, which Connor alluded to in his earlier comments. I'm going to ask Connor to review the approving resolution as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution, as you all know, essentially allows the agency to forward documents and work with the applicant as it relates to sales and mortgage recording tax exemptions. There are attached exhibits to this resolution authorizing sales and mortgage recording tax exemptions. The description of public benefits, Exhibit A, and Exhibit B, description of recapture events, both required by general municipal law. Both documents, both the commercial findings resolution and the approving resolution, can be found on the agency's website. But essentially, this approves the project for sales and mortgage recording tax. The pilot is not in this resolution because the applicant withdrew, so just sales and mortgage.
Thank you, Connor. Questions, comments for Connor from the board? The only little detail I noticed is the first sentence of this approving resolution speaks to a special meeting of the Town of Montgomery IDA, and that this is our regular November meeting. We did move the date forward one day from our normal Tuesday meet date, but it is our regular meeting. Unless there's any other questions, I would ask the board to consider a motion for this approving resolution, and I would suggest a motion to adopt the approving resolution for the Walden Construction Enterprise LLC project that is on file and on the agency's website, granting financial assistance in the form of exemption from sales and use tax, as well as mortgage recording tax. Would anyone care to?
With the one change to change the special meeting to just a meeting.
Thank you, Ashley. That would be the first sentence. It's a regular meeting of the Town of Montgomery IDA. Would anyone care to make that motion? Bob Santo
I'll
moves it.
second it.
Second by John Dixon. I'll again do a roll call vote on this, starting with John Dixon.
Aye.
John is in favor. Matt Stoddard?
Yes.
In favor. Ed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ed is in favor of the motion. Bob Santo?
Yes.
Is in favor. Tom Jones?
Aye.
Tom Jones is in favor, and Jeff Christ, myself, is in favor of the motion. So that approving resolution is adopted, 6 votes in favor, none opposed. Thank you for the votes and wrap up of this project. Good luck to the applicant. Obviously, the board feels it's important for the future of Walden and all the things that Connor just described that have language in the resolutions. Good luck. Next item? Yes.
Ashley, should we also make a motion to approve a local labor monitoring firm for this project?
Is that normal, your process?
It
That's
is,
something you
yeah.
would do now? Then,
Right, okay.
yes, that would be appropriate.
Okay, so we have two that we contract with. One is, was it Fellinger? And then the other is Loki Brill. So, Loki Brill is quite experienced and one we've worked with in the past, but I'd be open to, discussion here.
Comments from the board on that? Loki Brill is just in the process of the last couple items with the Amazon project. Matt?
Now, I know that a while back, we had brought both firms in, and we had talked about maybe using both firms, but we were a little bit nervous about the one firm being on a bigger project to get started with, and that's why we went with Loki Brill. I'm not saying to go with the other one or not, I'm just saying, I know we have two, we've utilized one, we've never utilized the other one, so I don't know if that makes a difference to the board or not, but it's just a thought.
Well, I think your comments have merit, Matt, that this project might be more manageable for Fellinger. I don't know if any other board members have a comment.
I don't have any qualifications on them, so the experience with the one through our meetings, but that's it.
And one, can I just say too, and one of them is local though, right? One
Middletown,
guy-
I believe, yes. Yep. Is there a way, Ashley, we can provide ourselves some latitude to check in with Fellinger to be sure they're comfortable and still available to do it, and have Loki Brill as a backup?
I guess you could do a motion for Thellinger, subject to their availability, and in the event they're not available, going with the backup.
Loki Brill. It would be nice not to have to wait till the next meeting, I would think, Connor, to figure that out, and that would, since the board has already approved both firms, it would seem like that provides us a track to follow appropriately so. So how would you suggest wording that motion, Connor?
A motion to engage Fellinger Engineering pending their availability and ability to do a project of this size.
Sounds good, with a backup of Loki Brill. Would any board member care to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by John Dixon, thank you. A second to that motion? Bob Santo, thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Thank you for bringing that up, Matt. I think it's a good way to proceed, so I would ask for the vote. Do I need a roll call on this one, Ashley?
You can do a roll call.
Okay, fine. John Dixon, how do you vote?
Aye.
John's in favor, Matt?
Aye.
In favor. Ed Williams, how do you vote on the local labor motion we just?
In favor, in favor.
Thank you, Ed. Ed's in favor of the motion. Bob Santo?
Aye.
Bob's in favor. Tom?
Aye.
Tom's in favor, and I'm in favor, so 6 in favor of that motion and none opposed. Thank you, everybody. So I think that concludes our discussion and agenda items for Walden Construction Enterprise. Have a good day, everybody. Our next item is the cost benefit analysis for 2022. I'll let Connor provide a little background, since the previously one that we used is not going to do this work anymore. So Connor.
Right, so in polling some of the other IDAs and seeing some of the other services out there, two main ones really jumped out, and they're in this board packet. One is using Camoin Associates. That's an independent consulting firm that does cost-benefit analysis, and that could be done on a project basis with the cost borne by the applicant. And they recently did the cost-benefit analysis for the Walden Construction Enterprise project. It seems like a fairly quick turnaround time, and there's a good amount of depth to the work they do. And then the other option is relatively new and somewhat similar to the current software we use in Form Analytics. It's an MRB group. They essentially allow you to input information from an IDA application into a software, and it will give you the economic impacts of the project. So the impacts that the tax revenue has, that the jobs have, that construction jobs have. So very similar to Inform Analytics. And the price would be a $1,000 one-time fee, and then they're with you for assistance and software support throughout the life, or the useful life, or the life of using the technology. So these are two options, and it's not necessary to make a decision today if you wanted time to discuss and look it over. We have Inform Analytics until January, so that gives us a little bit of time, and we could have this done at our housekeeping December meeting, but these are just the two prominent options in the state, the Camoin Associates and the MRB Group, new technology, very similar to the current software we use.
Any comments, questions on those? The one thing I would note in reviewing the Camoin details is they can adjust the analysis from pretty simplified to full impact, depending on the complexity and size and the need to evaluate this, which is nice to have the hands-on, and even have a reasonableness test, which is questions regarding the need for financial assistance being requested, and whether it's appropriate. I'm not sure of all the parameters of that, but that could be very helpful. And the dashboard part, did you see that, Connor, where they can display, I assume it would go on our website, all the projects that the IDA has assisted on, including economic and fiscal impact. Some of that we already have on there, but it might be more comprehensive.
Yeah, and they've done good work. They do a dashboard for IDAs across the state, so this, I suppose, could be a micro example of their work, but it could be an interesting option to have an independent third party review some of the costs and benefits of the project. But, like I said, we still have a little bit of time with Inform Analytics, and then we can decide between both softwares. Of course, you could do it today. It's entirely the board's preference, or we could wait. But both are two reputable options.
I wonder if we could approve both of them pending evaluation, so depending on the need, and to have that flexibility might make some sense.
Connor, which one's your recommendation? And which one would you prefer working with?
Yeah, I mean, I personally like the Inform Analytics. I like being able to input the data myself, and working with Inform Analytics, they've always been good with support, and I think MRB Group will be similar. But there's also a value, I think, to that independent analysis done by a firm, which I suppose we could do on an as-needed basis. But the software could be quite interesting to use, and very similar to what we currently use.
And that's the MRB?
MRB Group, and I believe it's a few people from Inform Analytics that kind
that's
of
interesting.
branched out and did their own thing, but that's going to be, I believe, commonly used throughout the state.
And the pricing difference between the two?
So if we were to go with Camoin, the cost would be borne on the applicant. So a project comes in, they would be required, similar to the way they pay legal fees, they would have to pay to do one analysis. With the software, it's a one-time $1,000 fee. And then they have software support throughout the time you use the software, which is pretty nice as well.
So, I mean, the cost is essentially negligible.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I mean, I would be in favor of taking Connor's recommendation and allowing him to run with it.
Okay.
At that
Yeah,
price point.
if you can control your own data and have that ability.
There's value to that, and then there's always, if we wanted to use Camoin in the future, we could do that at really, quite frankly, any point.
Yeah, it sounds like you could add the Camoin on as an additional look if you wanted to, since it's at the applicant's cost.
On specific projects.
Yeah,
Would you care to make a motion to that effect, Tom?
yeah, so moved.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Matt, thank you. And just to clarify, Tom, your motion is to retain MRB under the parameters described, and we'll evaluate Camoin possibly on future projects if need be, but for
As a
now,
supplemental, yeah.
it's a motion for MRB. I'll ask for a vote on that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That is an aye, too. I'm an aye, so 6 in favor, nobody opposed. Thank you, Ed. Executive Director's report, please, Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll briefly go through this. This month of November, we managed 2 Cardinal Healthcare and Walden construction projects. And also, as we see new zoning come into place and the town board is forwarding that process, now some of our projects that we've been working on, or projects that we've been expecting, are moving down the pipeline and hopefully into fruition in the next few weeks. And we've also been going on a good amount of business retention site tours, so meeting with some of our industrial businesses on Neelytown, Stonecastle Road, just to make sure that we understand what they need, assistance finding employees, on expansion, any future incentives that are needed. And we've also been involved in marketing initiatives, so on the radio doing various forms of media that touches areas across the state. We're also working closely with SUNY Orange, and we went on a site tour last week to Pharmacan on Neelytown Road. They're interested in doing, a cannabis workforce program, and we were asked to lead that charge and potentially try to have something in Montgomery. And then the matters to take note of, we have a vacancy on the board. The town board recently did interviews, and they expect to fill that vacancy in the coming weeks, if not at the next meeting. December, we're going to be having our reorganization meeting, so that's when we look at our policies, our committee appointments and things of that nature in preparation for 2022. And of course, the town zoning process is moving forward, which is good for us because there's uncertainty in what projects can do and where they can locate. So once that's more set in stone, I think the project pipeline will continue to develop. And then just ideas moving forward, we just closed on the cost benefit analysis software, which is good, and I didn't think we would do it today, but that's great that we have it done, quite efficient. And then revisiting that potential partnership with the web tech, economic development, marketing technology, which we can potentially have on the December agenda to discuss again, or at least in 2022 have that on the docket to explore again.
Very good. Thank you, Connor. Questions, comments on that report? I would, as a supplement to that report, like to congratulate Connor for his Outstanding Young Alumni Award, which was presented on Thursday, October 28th, under the SUNY Orange Foundation recognition of alumni honorees. So congratulations, Connor.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Well deserved. Myself, Matt, and John attended that event, so it's nicely done at the Newburgh Armory. Moving on to the financial report, please, Connor.
Yes, sir.
And I should say Matt, right?
Yes, sir. Checkbook beginning balance from last report, $335,787.17. Deposit of $250. Checks written that month were Burke, Mealy, Golden, and Norton of $9,072.38. Town of Montgomery, April and May and June payment of $19,014.78. Acquisition marketing, September meeting was $300, and Times Community newspaper was $78, leaving the checking account balance of $307,571.10. Sailfish escrow, checkbook beginning balance of $11,350. Checks to Loki Brill was $1,185, leaving the checking account balance of $10,165. Checkbook beginning balance for Walden Construction escrow is $4,801.80. Deposit of $198.20, and checks of Berkeley Mill, Golden, Norton of $5,000, which brought it down to zero, checkbook account balance. Orange Bank and Trust, account 3366 of $307,571.10. Orange Bank and Trust Sailfish escrow account of 8008 of $10,165. Orange Bank and Trust money market 4593 is $456,091, and bringing you a total of $773,737.01.
Thank you, Matt. Questions for Matt? Motion to accept that report would be appropriate at this time.
I make that motion.
I think Tom got in there quick. He's
Oh, all
not
right.
easy to beat you, John. And a second by John Dixon.
I'll second it.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Ed's an aye, I'm an aye. Motion carried 6-0. Other business, we have proposed meeting dates and times for 2022. Any comments on those, comments?
Yeah, just we figured we'd keep them the same. The second Tuesday of every month at 1 p.m. seems to work well. Beside the two holidays, June 13th, we would have it, Monday, June 13th, and then Wednesday, November 9th after Election Day. But beyond that, the meetings would remain the same, second Tuesday at 1 p.m.
And why don't we evaluate our schedules and adopt those next month? Does that work?
That's perfect.
I know a lot of people are kind of organizing their schedules for conflicts and stuff for 2022. That'll give everybody time to take a look at those. Would you pass those on to Rick as well, Ashley? Oh, okay. You want to mention one extra item,
Yep.
Connor?
One extra item, and actually, we spoke before this about Stewart Holdings. They're going to be converting their construction loan into a long-term loan. So the agency, being quote-unquote the landlord, needs to sign off on these documents. It's procedural, just to allow them to internally restructure. Ashley, is that generally the gist of it?
Yes, that's my understanding, and we have not had an opportunity yet to look over everything, and as you know, we weren't the attorney at the time the project was adopted, so our familiarities, we need to get caught up to speed, so that's why I'd suggest any authorization you give tonight would just be subject to the agency council's review and approval.
So authorization to allow the chairman or executive director to
sign
those documents?
Yes, whatever documents in connection with the refinancing that the agency needs to sign.
And we should vote on that action now if the board is comfortable. Any questions on that?
Everything's done, right? It's 100% complete, right?
The part that's not done is ramping up their workforce, but I did hear from the applicant's counsel that with things starting to come together in New York City, their business plan is beginning to get underway to put people to work here and ramp up their business, which was the plan all along.
One other question, I'm sorry. By doing this, if later on they don't fulfill their fulfillment or do what their duties were, what they promised for the IDA board, doesn't take away any of the clawback privileges that this board has?
Not that I could think of nothing
So this
that would be in the
just-
documents. It's not, they're not getting anything additional. You're not approving any additional financial benefits to them. It's just a matter of their internal refinancing is my understanding of it. So you'd still have your ability to recapture for events that are triggering.
Appropriate question, Matt. Would anyone care to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by John Dixon, second by Matt Stoddard. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ed's an aye, you're an aye, I'm an aye. So nobody's opposed, 6-0 on that motion related to Stewart Holdings. Our next meeting is scheduled for December 14th of 2021. Is there any other business that needs to come before us today? Thank you, everybody, for making this date adjustment for the November meeting. That's much appreciated, and have a good day. I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by John, second by Bob. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried. Have a good day. Thank you for joining us, Ed.